Thank you guys so much for keeping up with me in this video. This is now part 2 of this year-over-year category analysis to try to understand whether or not lifestyle creep played a role in my $195,000 worth of non-mortgage debt. If you haven't seen part 1 of this video, please look in the description box below, and I'm also going to link it over here, somewhere here. If that interests you, please stick around. Now, 2019. When you let's evaluate 2019. In 2019, my expenses go to about $52,448 total, and here home remains one of my biggest expense, and I'm going to explain why. Here, home is one of my biggest expense. Fees and charges also goes up to around $2,000. Because in 2019, this is when my life and my thinking really started to change. My education was around 12% because I actually decided this year to start a second master's degree in a technical field. So my first one was in business, my second one was in a technical field. What I also did this year was a big accomplishment in my life. I bought my second home. And when I bought my second home, I decided to Airbnb my first home. So that meant finalizing all of the fixes, all of the changes. I Airbnb my second home and stayed in my first home actually. So what I did on there was completely remodel the place, bought new furniture within about a month, did some cupcake remodels, right? Painting here, light fixtures, etc., and completely furnished the property. And all of that was almost $15,000 or $20,000 that went into credit cards. And this is when really I took a deep dive into the credit card mess. So, home $20,152 or 38.43% of my income. Shopping, I'm now at 16.64%. Yeah. So I doubled my shopping because a lot of what was considered shopping were things that I was buying for the Airbnb. Because not only initially for the Airbnb did I have to put in a lot of expenses, but as you are staying there, you have to keep buying more toilet paper, bed sheets. Like for some reason, if there's one little stay in the bed sheet, you can't use that anymore. You have to. So my consumables were very high. Now, don't get me wrong, the money I was getting was very good, but the expenses also matched the money that you get when you have an Airbnb. Let's move on now to 2020. And in 2020, my Airbnb goes from an Airbnb to a long-term rental. And business services, I am now at 21,000. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what happened here. So, in 2020, my business services is 21,8285, and that's because I decided to start another business venture. I started a reselling business because this time I'm working from home, and now that I was working from home, it's almost like I had gained time in my day. I also got a brand new job, and when I got that brand new job, there was a gap of about 2 months where I didn't get paid. And because I freak out when I don't have money. I was like, oh, I need to do something. And for some reason, I don't know where reselling came from. I watched some YouTube video of somebody reselling clothes, and I was like, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. We're going to resell clothes. We're going to try this. And I did it. It actually turned out to be an amazing experience. But I went and bought $10,000 worth of sweaters. Yes, you heard that. $10,000 worth of sweaters. Lucky for me, I ended up getting my money back within like 3 months. But I only got my money back on like 15% of the sweaters. So to this day, there's a basement full of sweaters and swimsuit from Target and tops from Land's End and pants that's just sitting in my basement. So in case I lose my job, or if you want inventory, I got plenty for you. So that's what I did. That's why my business expenses go from 4% to 22%. Remember, the last time they were at 22% was when I was starting a blog. That also went because I got too busy with school and work, haven't really invested into. But I still have that blog today. It's actually a pretty decent site, I have to say. Education, I am at around $1,000 because at this time I'm finishing up my second master's degree too. Entertainment, I think this is really important, right? There are certain, despite me spending a lot in business expenses, entertainment is staying around the same. I am not increasing how much I'm spending on entertainment. Game changer, of course, now I don't swap that card right, left, center, what have you. $4,000 in credit card interest and fees. Right? Some of this, I think maybe about 10 or 15% is bank expenses, but for the most part, it's credit cards. Food and dining, I'm at around 7%, so it's about $6,000 in food and dining. I am spending a little bit more in food, but I'm still keeping it within the recommended percentage of your overall expenses. Gifts and donations, I don't know why I'm at $6,000 here in gifts and donations. I don't know what happened that may have caused that. Oh, I know. I gave my sister money for a down payment on a house, and she did end up buying actually a pretty nice house. That's what's counting there. Health and fitness, 0.7% of my income. The year in 2019, I didn't talk about this earlier, I had hired a personal trainer. 2018 and 2019, I had a personal trainer, so I was putting in a lot of spending a lot of money in my personal fitness. Made a big difference. So that's why those values were higher in 2018 and 2019. And around 2020, come the pandemic, I scaled back, and I just haven't been able to recover my same level of fitness that I had back then. Home, yes. Now with 2 homes, talk about lifestyle creep, it just goes up. Right now my expenses for home just goes up. Here's why I don't consider my home necessarily lifestyle creep that I freak out about. Every single one of my homes currently make me money. Okay? We're talking about a cash flow of anywhere from $500 to several $1,000s. So I don't necessarily freak out when I see my biggest expenses being home or business services, because all of my side hustles, I either broke even or they made me money somehow, either with taxes or financially brought me money into my pocket. Personal care, my personal care around 2020 stays around the same at the 0.5 to 2% mark is where I comfortably like to be for my personal care expenses. Shopping, I am looking at 8,843, which is consistent with shopping in 2019 when I had the Airbnb. Mind you, in 2020, I still have the Airbnb because it's not until the end of the year 2020 that I converted that Airbnb into a long-term rental. So the expenses are around the same. And also in 2020, I got a new job and I started moving a lot. I started doing more work in my own personal home to get it ready for a tenant, which I eventually got in 2021 when I moved to Colorado. So 2020, I got another job, which was another bump in salary. It's showing here it was 15% of my base salary, but it was more in my overall compensation. So 2021, my business services, they are still very high, but not as high as the year before, because in 2021 I was still doing my reselling business, but now I was outsourcing a lot of the work overseas. So I would be on site here taking pictures, and I would send them over to an assistant who would do all of the online stuff, create a listing description, upload them to the various cross-selling websites, and check, making sure that if something is sold, then move it out of one platform and really delist it on all of the other platforms. So I needed help because there was no way me working a full-time job, me trying to finish graduate school, and me handling the picture taking, the shipping, was going to handle all of that by myself. So $15,000 here reflects those expenses. Let's look at what is my other biggest expense. Home. Now at home, I'm at $75,000. Now, why am I at $75,000? Because now I have two homes, but I'm relocating to a different state where I'm paying $1,700, which is almost the same price as my mortgage, one of my mortgages in Texas, and more. Like $1,700 was more than my home number one mortgage, and was about the same as my home number two mortgage. So those expenses are creeping up for sure. Let's look at personal care. Personal care here in 2021, I'm at 0.26%. Like, I am just not spending. We need to cut back in other places. I'm not spending money on anything else. Shopping, I'm also cutting back significantly. I'm only at 2.49%. Mind you, this was also in the middle of the pandemic, so we're not going anywhere to go do damage at the mall, It made a big difference. Travel, I'm spending a lot on travel, but I think a lot of that was me traveling to Colorado to assess which neighborhoods I wanted to move into, etc. So a lot of my traveling was a little bit work related, but kind of sort of personal. So as you can see, for the most part, I am keeping my expenses pretty steady, except for those two key areas: home, bills, home, and business services. I keep, it's like you have to spend money to make money, right? And 2021, I hit the record in terms of spending. So the year 2021, I'm at $131,464, which I remember, to me, when this happened, I was like, wow, that's a lot of spending. But I also started making a lot of money. Something else happened in 2021 that will make a big difference in 2022. I bought my third home. And this third home is different from house number one and house number two. Home number three was a duplex. And it already came with a tenant that was paying me rent. on a monthly basis. It's a Section 8 tenant. Everybody have heard horror stories of Section 8 tenant, but my Section 8 tenant is actually an amazing, amazing person, just super helpful. To this day, I can give him a call to take care of something for me in the unit now that I'm in California, and he would 100% take care of it. So kudos, just blessings and blessing to have him as a tenant. So the year 2002, the landscape completely changes. Because I am what I am, I take my duplex, my 2 unit in Colorado, and decided to convert it towards the end of 2021 and beginning of 2022 into a triplex. The upstairs had 4 bedrooms, 1 bath, but it had 2 entrances. So what we decided to do is to convert one of the bedroom into a bath slash kitchenette area and make that its own separate unit. That actually turned out to be a very expensive venture that served me so well. Today in Colorado, I have 3 units. So at any given time, I have at least 2 units that are paying the bills. And that's also going to be reflected here in my expenses. Bills and utilities went up significantly because now in 2022, after finishing that remodel in March, I also got a new job. And this new job took me from a management role to an executive role. And that allows me to really see a greater change in my financial situation in terms of income. But the expenses were also real, because now I have 3 homes that I'm paying a mortgage on, and then I'm moving to a state that is ridiculously expensive. Somebody should have told me before I moved, but I'm paying now 3 mortgages and rent, and my rent is is higher than my home mortgage 1 and 2. So it's almost as expensive as my big house in Colorado. You see here bills and utilities. Now I'm at 14% because I'm to this day still paying the bills in Colorado because it's technically an Airbnb. They have to stay for 30 days minimum, but I take care of all of the bills for that house. So my bills and utilities are going up significantly at 14% of my overall expenses. Business services, I'm at 12% because now I'm lumping in the handyman expenses and stuff into my business expenses. Home, look at this. I'm now at $98,149, or 45% of my overall expenses. And this 98,000, a lot of that were part of the remodeling. The remodeling to convert that unit to convert the bedroom into its own little casita inside of my upstairs unit did cost me about $80,000. Now, today I make about $1,700 off of that unit per month. $1,700. I could go to $2,000, but so it looks like between both of the units, within about 3 to 4 years, I'm going to break even. But it's money very well spent, in my opinion, because Colorado is a hot market that's only going to get even hotter. So, and the area is only going to grow in value. So let's look at entertainment, around the same 0.18% of my income. Food and dining, I'm spending $15,000 on food and dining, or 7% of my income. However, in 2022, my new job is in sales. So a lot of the expenses you will see in food and dining and travel is almost all of it, and auto and transport, almost all of it is related to my new job. Personal care, I'm at around 0.64% shopping. I'm at 8%, but a lot of this is me furnishing both of the upstairs unit because technically I started another Airbnb business. Travel, $20,000. Yes. Travel is $20,000 because I'm traveling everywhere. I'm in Seattle, Arizona, Texas, New Jersey, Colombia, Barcelona. I'm traveling a lot for work. So my expenses for 2022 is $215,696. Yes, you heard that right. You heard that right. But the lifestyle creep here is not Nandy buying shoes and purses and, going out there and having a wild good time. It's a combination of me, business ventures, to work. And a lot of this money I get reimbursed for work. So it is what it is. And this year in 2023, only 4 months in, and I've already spent $60,000. So I am going to be getting closer to the $250,000 for the rest of the year. That's kind of what I'm thinking I'll be shooting for. Bills and utilities, I'm at 28% because this year I'm doing bills and utilities different. Back in the days, my rent and mortgages were part of my home expenses. This year I'm putting my rent as a bill and a utility. And also in 2022, home was $98,000 because I was paying for everything out of pocket. All of my mortgages were coming out of my own personal pocket. I did not fully delineate business expenses from Nandy's expenses. And business expense, I mean more real estate expenses than Nandy personally spending X, Y, and Z amount on clothes, shoes, etc. 2023 is the first year I have moved those expenses away from my personal account and into a dedicated business account. So now, if that business or a property is not profitable, we need to have a conversation. So now all of that expenses is in its own category. And I will be doing a monthly business review. If you're interested, please click the subscribe button. And of course, like as well. But click the subscribe button so you can see those videos as they come through. Over here, business services is actually, I'm trying to manage business services expenses. A lot of this was every once in a while when I had to pay out of pocket for my rental expenses, but I'm trying to avoid that. Finance and charges, I didn't share that last year. Finance charges was $5,000, almost $6,000 last year just on credit card fees. Yeah, that's serious. That's really serious. This year I'm already at $2,293. I'm hoping I will pay off most of my credit cards by the end of the summer. Food and dining, I am at around 9% of my current income, but most of that is work. So what is my next? Travel is my next biggest expense. So last year, all of the year I had $20,000. This year I have $17,000 just in 4 months because I've literally gone everywhere around the world at this point. Well, not everywhere around the world, but Latin America and Europe and all over the US, which to me feels like everywhere because I used to hardly ever travel, even, within the United States. That is the overview of how I got myself into $195,000 worth of credit card debt and all of the other debts that comes along with it. $40,000 of my $195,000 is a new car. In 2021, I got into a car accident and lost my car. And this year, this brand new car that I'm driving right now, the company does give me a car stipend. So it's not like, cry me a river. I could patiently just wait to have, that car paid for in 2 to 3 or 7 years. But I'm not about to sit here and, you know, pay thousands of dollars on a car that depreciates. But the purpose of this video was to give you guys that overview. Well, as you're making more money, are you spending more on frivolous stuff? That's really not me. I'm very cognizant of how I spend my money, of what I do with my money, because I am truly committed to not just financial freedom, but also time freedom. My goal is, if I can help it, is to be work independent in the next 5 years. So in the next 5 years, if I'm working a full-time job, it's because I absolutely love it and I want to work that job. If not, I don't want to work it. So that's my goal in 5 years. So thank you so much for joining me on this interesting journey and this interesting video. Now that you've seen a little bit, you've gotten a look into my categories to understand where the expenses came from, what my strategy has been, all of the crazy things that I've tried. Hopefully you can be motivated, inspired. Maybe you think I'm crazy. But whatever it is, I appreciate you for being here. I'm hoping to see you in my next videos. Please be on the lookout. I have so many great things coming out to share with you so that you can hopefully learn from me what to do and what not to do. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.